Welcome to DGT Live. I am one of your two hosts, Johnny Walker.
I'm Dead Guy Ty, and today we are going to be discussing Walking Dead.
That's right. This is part two of our what we didn't know was going to be a two-parter, but this time, Dead Guy Ty got to catch up on the entire series. So this episode, we're going to be talking more about season 3 completely, which you just finished.
I literally just finished it minutes ago.
Nice. So that's good. You get a good, fresh perspective, just because it's been a little bit since the show ended, or season 3 ended, rather. And so it's going to be nice getting your feedback from someone that just finished the series.
Yes, sir.
All right. And today we are, I actually brought a special guest. Imagine that.
Hey, who would have known? I did
Who
too.
would have thought? Yeah. So today, I'm gonna take a little bit longer to introduce my special guest because we got some exciting things coming up.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay.
What'd you say?
So go for it.
Oh, it's a little echoey, so it's weird. I'm talking to like two people. All right. So today I have Silver City Brewery. This is the Panther Lake Porter. I got hooked up with this one from my friend Christian at Odom. Because of my cool buyer status, I get to sample amazing beers from time to time. And this one I'm super excited about because everything I've had from Silver City, from their Ridgetop Red Ale to their St. Florian IPAs, have just been absolutely fantastic so far. So Silver City Brewing is knocking it out of the park every time I crack open a bottle. And this one is a porter, which is one of my favorite styles. So thank you, Christian from Odom, and thank you, Silver City, for making amazing beers. I hope I could add this to the amazing catalog. Tyler, who's your guest?
Man, that one looks good. I have something a little lighter, a little easier today. Another one from Hangar 24 Brewing. The last one I had from there wasn't too bad. And this is their Orange Wheat. Hangar 24 is out of Redlands, California. And this is, I think it was only like 4.5% ABV. I'm going with something a little easier and lighter today, or 4.6 ABV. I have a pretty big day at work tomorrow, so I got to be a little clear-headed.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a little bit toned down from the 9% you had last week, and this week I'm doing a 6%er. This has Nugget, Liberty Hops, Northwest Pale Ale out of Bremerton, Washington. So, as in Dead Guys fashion, I got our special cups. I'm doing Glen today.
You're doing Glen, okay.
This is a different kind of show.
I got Mr. Dixon back with me for today.
Yeah, I'm doing Glen, and you got the Dix.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. So this is pouring. It's super dark, a lot darker than the other stout that I had. Super creamy head. Big chocolate. Smells like milk chocolate. Nice. Can't wait.
Mm. I'm jealous. Mine is super clear, poured really light, really clear, seems pretty carbonated. And really all I can get from the smell is super weedy and some orange peel.
Excellent. Well, cheers to another episode. Let's put a cap on Fear the Walking Dead tonight. All right, sir, you want to go first?
It's it's interesting.
It's great.
It is very carbonated, very citrusy. And yeah, I don't know if I can make up my mind quite yet.
All right. Nice spoilers at the end. Just first kind of impressions of this beer. I love Silver City Brewing. It's just we'll talk more about it later, but just special stuff in this.
All right, good deal. Okay, so Fear the Walking Dead Season 3. We discussed seasons 1 and 2 last week. And like we just said, I got caught up just today and finished watching season 3. And unfortunately, I was hoping that I was going to be able to watch some of your reviews that you did during the season, but obviously I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, they were good. Except the one that I had Alex on for, because he actually did a little dance with the straw. Once you get to that was more entertaining than most of the Fear the Walking Dead.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, so we did review the first episode last week, and then we kind of stopped and I know you got through episode 1 and 2, and we kind of stopped when the big thing happened. In season 2 at the beginning of, or in episode 2 rather, for season 3. Oh boy, yeah, and it happens quick. We're on the helicopter with Jake and Alicia. Shots fired and shit goes down. Sir, you want to take it away?
Yeah, and then Travis, who is kind of at this point seemed to be one of our leaders of, the show, not just of the group, but just of the show. And he was who I thought was the Rick of Fear the Walking Dead. And he, if I remember right, he took a shot to the neck.
Well, it grazed his neck. And that's why everyone Alicia's just like, oh, it's okay. It's a flesh wound. But then he kind of moves his other hand, and you see his guts and his intestines are just kind of spilling over.
Right. And then, so he decides to, do what I think is probably the right thing. And opens up the helicopter door and, kind of falls out, so to say, and kind of falls to complete what has already begun, which is his end.
They couldn't have killed him more, right? It's just like they shot him twice. Then he decides to fall out of the airplane. I think we talked about this on the review with Alex, but it was just like the only thing else they could have done to make sure that Travis was dead is they set him on fire, and then the helicopter landed on top of him. They wanted to make sure that there was no question, there was no dumpster misdirection. Fucking, right?
Yeah, there's no Morales factor there.
Yeah, we got blessed with that once. I think that we're not going to get that with Travis.
No, absolutely not. And I kind of noticed that throughout this season, with a couple deaths that we'll I guess get to when we get there. But they seem to kind of do certain things to solidify those deaths so that they don't have the Morales factor, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It was crazy, and I remember going back to just my initial reaction of that episode was, okay, well, this is the end of Fear, because that was, at least maybe this is the end of Fear for me, because especially with what they were doing with Travis, and you and I talked about this in the last episode that we did. His character was just hitting such an amazing pace and amazing arc. He had this new beast mode thing going on. He lost his son, but he was the moral compass of the group, and then that got tested, and then he just turned into this feral, Weapon X kind of Travis, and just absolutely amazing. And then for them to just kind of kill him like that, I was like, oh.
Yeah, they just right out the gates for season 3, boom. Not just a big death, but a huge death. And
the biggest death.
Like I said, I thought he was the Rick. You know, season 3 taught me that Madison is the Rick. But okay, so then obviously they get shot down, a helicopter, and so we have Alicia is with Jake. And so far, you know, I like the character, but I still just don't know if you can trust him. And then it appears, you know, he's doing things that show that, okay, maybe we can trust this guy. Him and Alicia make it back to, or make it to the ranch, I guess, where the rest of, you know, that's, who was it, Madison, and Madison is with Troy. They make it already to the ranch, and they're waiting and, you know, expecting to see Travis and everybody arrive shortly, and then they just see Jake and Alicia.
And at this point, I forget, but I'm pretty sure Nick and Luciana are there as well, right? And like Lucy's like super injured because of she's dying because of the bullet wound, or they come kind of later.
Yeah, they're there because they all met up at that camp where Troy and the rest of the militia have kind of taken over this military base. Oh, and you know what? I guess we kind of skipped a whole bunch. Man, I'm sounding really echoey, aren't I?
A little bit.
Okay, well, we kind of skipped. Oh no, I guess we did talk about it. We talked about Troy and the. We talked about this last week, huh? Troy with the tests that he's running to see how long it takes people to turn, that kind of thing.
Daddy.
So,
there's some weird stuff going on in this episode, man. Yeah, well, okay, so let's see. They get to I think it's called Broken Jar. It's the settlement, and then that's when we're introduced to Jeremiah, who turns out to be the person that found Ophelia pretty much half dead roaming the wasteland, right? What was your initial reaction or, you know, response to Jeremiah?
My initial response to Jeremiah is he just seemed like who he was, kind of an old kook. That ended up turning out to be, you know, who he was. He did turn out to be an old kook. I mean, most of the people from the ranch, I just didn't know if they were somebody that we can trust. The only person that I was certain about was Troy. I knew he was nobody to be trusted right from the beginning because, I mean, he's just killing innocent people right away.
Right.
Jake could not make my mind up at first whether he's trustworthy. Jeremiah, he seemed like an old kook, and you know, the rest of the common folk of the ranch just seemed, you know, normal, but definitely knew there was something a little off with Jeremiah right from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think at that point we figure out that he is Troy and Jake's father. He has this. He's one of those like kind of tinfoil hat survivalists, but in this case and in this environment, that kind of, you know, practice is rewarded. He's fortified in a sense, but it still seems a little Herschel's farm as far as like the actual walls go, which is a little bizarre. You know, it just looks like Rome or workers rather could just kind of come and go as they but they do have a militia led by Troy. You know, you give the crazy person, you know, the keys to the car for some reason. But yeah, they have a nice little thing going on. They have food, they have supplies. They're not as turned off to the rest of the world as like in Alexandria was, where that just seemed like that was just like a nice little suburb neighborhood that had no idea what was going on the outside. Jeremiah and his people, which he has this kind of you know, group of wise men, or I think they're called the founders rather. They all know what's going on, and they've been preparing for something catastrophic for forever, and that's what these like-minded people signed up for. So I did like that. I like the idea of the whole camp, the settlement, just for the fact that these people are just another community, like a Woodbury, or I forget the name of the governor's thing.
Yeah.
But they also know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. There was definitely, it was kind of a mixture, I guess, between Herschel's farm and Woodbury. There was obviously a little bit of Woodbury going on, especially with Troy and the militia. When that family, and I forget their name, but when that family tried to leave, Jake went out and Woodburyed them, and which we saw. And I guess we didn't really see it happen, but we knew it happened when Madison stumbled upon them with Jeremiah Otto, and we knew right there that it was Troy. Sorry, I don't know if I said Jake, but and that was very, very similar to the governor at Woodbury, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremiah, which we find out later, is a complete, not really crazy person, just pretty much an asshole, just stone cold, kind of black and white, asshole, but not so much like crazy like the governor was.
Yeah, Jeremiah Otto was more of just old, stubborn, bigot asshole.
He was a good old boy, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
which was really interesting, and this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but the how they were of Jeremiah's kind of relationship, how Nick started kind of latching on to this ideal just for a little bit. Nick doesn't have a father, so Nick is always kind of latching on to these parental figures. Like he was latching on to that woman at the Spanish house, before Daniel blew the shit up. But it was interesting to see that Nick, just for a second, is starting to kind of buy into the Otto motto. I surprised myself with that. Like, did I just say that?
That was our snap moment for tonight.
Yeah. What did you think about the whole Nick and Jeremiah relationship?
Well, you can definitely see that, and Nick was kind of, obviously reluctant at first, especially with this community, because Luciana, him and Luciana show up, and, she's sick, and the whole thing was just until she gets better, and then we're leaving. And then, slowly but surely, you see Nick kind of buy into the Otto motto, and he's just really kind of latching onto him and kind of building, a relationship with him, kind of bonding them with him. And, it's kind of, interesting how that ended up turning out. But, I definitely think, you hit the nail on the head right there. He's kind of searching for that father figure that it's obviously been a while since he had. And, to me, it doesn't seem like even when he did have that father figure there, that there was really much of a father-son relationship going on. Yeah,
absolutely. As they do on these shows, it seems kind of like a nicer place. They're kind of all settled in. The only one that kind of got attacked right off, or in the beginning, was Alicia and Travis and Jake. But besides that, people are kind of settling in. I think that Kim, what's her name? Kim Dickens? Her best acting role and I give her a lot of shit in this series, but her best kind of acting performance in one of these shows was when she's kind of off by herself after she finds out that Travis was murdered. And she just kind of loses it, just kind of starts vomiting and stuff like that. It's like, of course she's that, but the way she did it, it's like, because she's just such a hardened person, and we find out more and more why later, and that she's just like pretty stone cold. But Travis was like the last thing tethering her to trying to be this like normal good person. And when she finds that out, just everything goes to the wayside. And I think, I got to give Tim Dickens credit, where credit's due. Her performance in that episode, which I think is like episode 2 or 3, is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100% agree. There are definitely some times during this show where, yeah, her acting has been, I guess, a little subpar, but yeah, no, I thought the same thing. Once again, when an actor or an actress, when they make you kind of really see those emotions and really feel those emotions with them, then they've definitely done their job and beyond.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't. I mean, there's a lot of that, and then of course, once Luciana starts kind of getting on the mend, that's when she starts telling Nick, she's just like, no, there's something up. I want to get out of here. This is my home. I got to get out and see these people, because the rest of that, I guess, the pharmacy group, or the group that we met Luciana in, kind of scattered at the border. So it was kind of unclear. I think she left to go find them, but she winds up leaving, and she winds up leaving Nick there.
Yeah, which you can tell kind of, obviously bothered Nick, but he kind of just keeps on, moving along, seamless, as if like, it's nothing, it's for the best. And just kind of, you don't even really see him, bothered by it at all, and then it never really discusses it any further.
Yeah, it's true. And then, kind of moving along, we kind of get our first introduction to, I think they send out kind of like a search, I don't remember if it was a search party or whatever, but they send some people out, and Madison's included with Troy, and they go to one of their like satellite kind of areas, kind of like what the Saviors have. But then we see what I like to call the Raven Man. I know he has a name, but that's one of my favorite scenes. Is just this guy sitting on the side of a cliff with a bird just pecking at his exposed brain. There's some great imagery in this season, and this series as a whole. That's one of the things that just kind of lasted, with me. Just remembering that scene of this guy just like spouting nonsense, where he's just like sitting there in like a lawn chair, and then the camera kind of does a 360, and we see the crow pecking at his head, and that's our first introduction to Walker. Why the hell they would put a main character named Walker in a show like this is freaking beyond me, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree. It's just stupid, but. And then nobody refers to, zombies as walkers in this part of the world. But I think it's safe to say probably every Fear the Walking Dead fan is a Walking Dead fan. Hearing the word Walker or the name Walker just throws you off.
Yeah, I love that intro, and just right away he kind of, I think his name is Tonka or something. Tonka, I don't know. He's like a wrestler in the 1990s. But he just comes right out and says, "Yeah, I shot down that helicopter. I shot your husband. Oh, okay, I understand that you have a blood, vendetta against me."
Yeah, he's like, I understand. You hate me. You're pissed off at me, and guess what? Now you kind of feel what it's like for me to be pissed off and the hate that I feel.
Yeah, and which didn't really add up in my opinion. Just like, the camping people stole stuff from him, so he kills her husband, but he killed Travis. Because at that point, it turns out to be more later, and we get that, but at the moment, he's just like, they stole my ancestors' ashes and stuff, and then so I killed your husband. And they live in a little community of their own. I guess it's not as cool because they really want to get back to the settlement, which they think they rightfully have. But they have a cool little setup. They have like a little string of shops. They got a little shopping mall. They got a diner and a helicopter.
And the helicopter, yes. I think really the big part of it was just him being just pissed off and stubborn and wanting to settle a score that
prideful, right?
What's that?
Prideful.
Yes, absolutely. Prideful and stubborn. And, he felt that he was wronged by, the white man. And which, I mean, hey, that's also logical feelings. I mean, unfortunately, things that were happened throughout history to, his ancestors are, god awful, and it was done by the white men, and a lot of that hatred has been passed on through, today's generations. So there's some obviously justified hatred there, but once again, we're talking, history, not now, but he's kind of prideful, pissed off, stubborn, wants to pay it back to the white man. And I think that's really bottom line. Yeah, that ranch was great. But yeah, you're right. He had a little diner there. They were cooking food and meals. I mean, it was a decent little setup, a nice little valley there. They had hills that they could use as, lookout posts and stuff like that. But
it was a little bizarre. And like you said in the last show that we did, it's just like realistically, you would think that once the dead starts, getting up after they're dead, it would snap people out of this kind of weird mentality. But who knows? Like once it's a lived-in world for a few months, once you're in it and it just kind of becomes your environment, maybe some of that, human and force usage does come.
Yeah, and with this, I feel like it was kind of like more realistic than the coastal piracy and whatnot that we saw in season 2.
Right.
Because this was kind of like, for Tonka Walker or, whatever, Mr. Walker, that kind of just seemed a little more realistic human versus human crime. Because, like, for him, it was kind of like, okay, well, now, law and order, the white man's law has gone to shit. It's now time for me to reclaim what is rightfully mine. And so he was going to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and I told you on his side because I'm like 50% American Indian.
Right. So,
me versus you, right? But moving along. So then the founders, I think there was like 4 founders to start. Jeremiah, obviously one. The Raven Man was another. The Old Man. And those two, or at least the Raven Man got killed because of the war, and we had a little all-out war. Within Fear the Walking Dead, dare I say, maybe even better and more interesting than regular Walking Dead, but we'll get to that later. But one of the other founders kind of, just gets murdered by his wife. They're old folks. His wife wakes up, as one of the Walking Dead starts, chewing on her husband, and then just kind of burns the house down. Very romantic, very Notebook. It's very nice, and, very date movie way to go out. Two old folks burning down their house because it was a zombie. I appreciated that. So if you want to, bring the wife or the girlfriend to a nice, romantic time, go watch that episode of Fear the Walking Dead. But the founders start, kind of dropping one by one, and that made a nice, interesting kind of tension ratchet. Where it's just like, okay, there's one down, there's 2 down. Jeremiah's one of them, and there's this other guy. I liked that ratchet of tension.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I believe, so we've said, the 3 founders, and then the other guy. That was the guy who attempted to leave with his family, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, so then I guess, after, the whole Raven Man thing, and I don't even remember what he was saying, but I remember it was just very repetitive. He was kind of repeating the same thing, over and over. And he, and then I believe Madison is the one who walks up and just stabs him right, I believe right in the temple or something like that, and puts him out. And that's when we were introduced to Mr. Walker. And I don't know. So and we kind of talk. I guess how do you feel about that whole exchange and how Madison just kind of steps up and starts to interact with him right away and almost in an argumentative kind of way. How do you feel about what that shows about Madison and who she is and the kind of leader that she is?
I don't feel like okay. Like I said, when Travis died, that was Madison's like last tether to trying to be a good person, right? Then it's like training wheels off, full force Madison. We keep finding out all these things from the past about her. She's super ruthless. She's super stone cold. She is a protector of her family unless she's not. Her decision making is kind of dumb. She's very protective over Alicia and Nick. Oh, like she's very like since the beginning of the whole entire series, right? It's been the theme of Fear the Walking Dead was Madison being protective over Nick. And it's always about Nick, and even Alicia's knows this. She's like, it's all about my brother because he's the addict and he's always getting in trouble. And Madison, I think that kind of characteristic always gave something for Madison to do. Devil's hands are the idle hands are the devil's playground, rather. So it's just like Alicia was just like a good teenager. She probably had pretty good grades. She didn't do anything really wrong. So it was someone like Madison in such a troubled past that always had to do something, fix something. So if she was bored, then she would revert to this kind of crazy asshole. But yeah, the stuff with Walker, I feel it was bizarre because I felt like she let him off the hook, which completely went against the character arc. It's just like he killed the one thing that was keeping her in line, and she just kind of sided with it. And later on in the series, and later on in the season, she was just sharing rooms with him and having cordial conversations with him, and it happened rather quickly, and it just seemed out of place.
Yeah, I agree with you. It did kind of seem out of place and too soon, and I understand that she's willing to put aside things and do whatever she can to build alliances and protect her children. But like you said, it just seemed too soon, too out of place. Like, come on, there would have been a little bit more tension. And then it's like all of a sudden they're like, best friends, And so we have a really good point or question brought up on the chat from PsychoCat23, who also does a couple voiceovers from our boys over at The Walking Bread. So first off, PsychoCat, all the way from Ireland, thanks for joining us. That's pretty freaking cool.
Awesome. What's up, PsychoCat?
And so what he said was, do you think Madison will become Alpha, which is a character from the comics, those who you don't know. And I'm not so familiar because I am behind on the comics. I'm behind on The Walking Bread. But I have heard a little bit about Alpha and the leader and whatnot that Alpha is. So what are your thoughts on that, John?
So at first I thought that theory was a slam dunk because not only, of course, do they look similar, Madison looks like Alpha from the comic books. She has a daughter, which very well could be Alicia, which is Lydia in the comic books, just name swap, whatever. However, this is what I now think. They're going to do the crossover, and I want to bring the crossover up kind of at the end of this episode, but, since you bring it up, I think they're going to see the reception of the crossover with Morgan coming over to Fear the Walking Dead and see how fans kind of react to that. I think that's just kind of the mentality right now. That's the kind of the stasis of the show, the status rather of the show right now. With such negative fan reactions right now to regular Walking Dead. So, obviously with the, spoiler alert for main Walking Dead, but we've been talking about this with the Carl death. so much of the Whisper War is changed. So much has to be changed. It's going to be, even if they give that storyline to someone else in the Walking Dead show and they still kind of attempt it, it's going to be so different. So I think that this show right now, especially with Scott Gimple leaving The Walking Dead, coming over to Fear the Walking Dead as the showrunner, I think they're going to see how the fans react to Morgan and kind of feel out that kind of connective tissue to see if they're going to bring the Fear cast over to the main cast.
Okay, definitely. So, that was definitely a good question. And like I said, I'm not that cut up to really, know that. And also, he said he thinks that Nick will become Beta.
I don't see that.
No?
No. You would think that Nick is just a Whisperer right now with how he's kind of mastered the L'Oreal trick. He just puts a little bit on there and he's good to go. But I don't think, I don't know. Nick's so flip-floppy and so Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas right now. I don't know. I'm changing my answer to I don't know, but I don't think so because I think they wanted someone. See, if they kept Travis alive, he was going that route. I thought Travis could have very well could have been Beta, and he would have made an amazing Beta. He's scary, he's imposing, and he was going down that dark side route to get there. I don't see Nick doing that, but who knows? If they do it, they do it. But I would have much rather seen Travis.
Okay. Well, I guess I can't really make too much of an opinion because, like I said, I haven't been introduced to that yet. But I'm looking forward to being introduced to these characters in the comic series because I've heard a lot about
them. Yeah, and I try to make that as spoiler-free as possible for you. So I don't think I gave too much away. But moving along with the review, there are some cool scenes sprinkled in, that we didn't really talk about. They start getting integrated into the camp. Madison taking on more of a leadership role, much to Jeremiah's dismay. He's kind of old school. He wants the women to be seen, not heard, kind of thing, dare I say. And Alicia starts forming a relationship with good brother Jake, and Troy just keeps going further and further off the deep end. This is at the point, late, early season 3 to mid season 3, where I really started to turn on Troy. In a good way. I thought he was kind of annoying and kind of weird at first, and I didn't even like the kid's acting. But more and more, the guy that plays Troy, and I don't even know his name, he just starts eating it up. And every scene he's in, he's just going, full bore. And I really started liking Troy at this point.
Yeah, no, I did kind of as well. And there's just a certain, especially there's a badassness to Troy that you just can't help but just like, man, that guy is freaking legit. And I was really looking forward. I thought we were going to see Troy was going to be the next big villain for Fear the Walking Dead. And I was actually looking forward to it because I thought he was going to make a great villain.
Absolutely.
And he just never completely went that way.
Yeah, they missed a big opportunity with that because I think he really could have been great, even if not a villain, just this weird kind of ambiguous entity that kind of it floats in and out of the group. It just causes havoc. It just causes a ruckus. But I mean, he did have some great villain roles. We could go through like when that last founder besides Jeremiah Lee, which part of the family is I think her name is like Cassidy or something. That's Alicia's friend, where they they kind of hung out, and I like that scene too. I really like that teenager movie scene where it's Alicia downstairs in this basement, smoking a joint with all these other like teenagers, and they keep this Walker head as a pet in a cage.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, besides the Walker head, it was very similar to like a scene from like, my high school days, hanging out in the basement and doing other things, Yeah. So no, I definitely agree. I thought that was awesome and typical. Yeah. Just normal teenager shit, like I said, minus the Walker head, but in that world, it would make sense, you know?
Yeah, and I love that. And so Troy decides to make to put his foot down, kind of calls out this founder and his family for leaving, and we get all this conflict with Jake and Troy and like future powers. I think the writing on the wall that Jeremiah was just kind of a placeholder, that he wasn't kind of there for the long haul of the show, and it was just all about, at least for this community, the brothers' war. It was very Cain and Abel. It was, Jake was this kind of straight-laced, I'm trying to do it, but he didn't have that backbone to really pull the trigger that Troy did. So in a way, even though they were warring all the time, they actually complemented each other very well. And a bunch of bad decisions were made. Jake almost gets scalped, which was a brutal scene, a gruesome scene, which I love. But yeah, so that last founder family kind of takes a ride. We knew, as soon as they left, something was going to happen to them, and it turns out that Troy wipes them out and blames it on the Walker tribe to kind of get this war going, to kind of push it through. It was very political. I like the political mind games of this season a lot. And Madison makes a very interesting decision to cover up and just, go with Troy's plan. And that's when it started getting really creepy, because I'm like, are they going to do a Madison-Troy romance, or are they doing more of a weird father or a mother-son thing? And I'm glad that it turned out to be the latter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of had the same question because, I was thinking, obviously, like, Troy was looking, kind of for a mother. I mean, because obviously he didn't really have exactly a, mother figure when his mother was there, and then she passed, and then, he's just kind of almost just like really looking for that. And the way that Madison would talk to him sometimes, and he would respond as if he just got a command from his mother. So, I mean, yeah, definitely. I started questioning that for a minute too, and was just, kind of like, please just don't go in that direction, because that is just weird.
Yeah. And then we find out that, well, okay, and then the big weird surprise, the ultimate dumpster, scene at this point is Strand decides to go see this connection at the dam, and he goes and he confronts, I think his name is like, I don't want to be, like racist or anything. I think it was Escobar or something. I don't remember.
For who? I'm sorry.
Who's the leader of the dam that was just like executing people and throwing them off?
Oh, he said Escobar. No,
Escobar. Whatever.
He wasn't a drug lord. It was shit. What was his name? Victor's what keeps on popping in my head, but I know that's wrong because that Strand's name is Victor Strand.
It doesn't matter. Dante, yeah, good. It does matter because you knew. So, and we find out that freaking Daniel's alive.
Yeah, it's just like, what? He was burnt up, and all of a sudden we see Daniel, and he's introduced. He's handing Victor Strand a canteen of water. And then it's like, okay, wow. There's Daniel, who we thought for sure was dead. And he's still a prick, just like before. And I forget the exchange, but I know he just and Daniel's character is so interesting on a few levels, because as much of a prick as he is, he battles with himself on being that cold-hearted prick, but then his heart every time, a little bit is there. Like, he gave Victor the water, and then, I don't know, gives him like some, backwards ass, statement, like, you snake, you're still alive type thing,
Yeah, and we got to see the fate of, because Strand has no credit to anybody because he is a habitual liar, which he, owns. And then we get to see him, in a moment of panic, tell Daniel, hey, Ophelia's still alive. I'll take you to her, and we get to see the fate of what happened to the hotel.
Yeah, which I think we kind of saw that coming with all the attention that the hotel was getting. We knew that was kind of just waiting, for its demise.
Yeah, and Madison did it. Like, she's the one that turned on the light. She's the one that drew all the attention. Because, I mean, there is a lot of population still going on in these like Mexican like urban cities, right? It's like, and talking about a huge thing going on. Let's talk about the Thunderdome itself, the stadium. Like, what?
Yeah. the trading post where you can get whatever you want to find.
It was so bizarre. Like, they had full on currency. It was capitalism at its best in the freaking zombie apocalypse. Trader Joe's or whatever his name was, with Wild Bill, he had it down to a science, man. Like, he had bottle caps going on. Everyone was Caucasian, which was a little bit strange. But I mean, you could get food, you could get human brain, you could eat adrenaline at this place. They had a walker wall. I mean, they had it all.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was. It's just on the like Tijuana, California border or wherever it was, and they had a pretty good setup. Except that they didn't allow weapons inside, which I can understand. But how long can that last without turning into a frenzy with somebody dying and turning into a zombie?
Yeah, I don't know. They got good security there, so it's just like people in Fear the Walking Dead have figured it out way more than our poor bastards in Atlanta.
Right? and I guess something that I do. I mean, I like Walking Dead proper, obviously more than Fear the Walking Dead. But one thing I do like about Fear the Walking Dead is, and we discussed it a little bit about The Walking Dead last season, during season 7, on one of the Dead Guys shows, on one of the DGT shows. We discussed that how The Walking Dead kind of started as a survivalist type show and then moved towards, a comic book, video game type, show. And what I like about Fear the Walking Dead is that it's not a comic book type show really at all. I mean, it's still a survivalist type show. It still has that kind of realistic. We don't have the, samurais and the ninjas and stuff like that. It's still kind of a survivalist show. And so we're kind of seeing how people get pretty creative when they have to, with things like, the Thunderdome and stuff like that.
Yeah, it just seems like they just have it like figured out better. I don't know, and it comes with some cool stuff. Like, they even make the joke, I think, where they're just like, don't eat the street tacos or something like that. Like, it's known, like, what place is a dive.
Right. Yeah.
Which is so bizarre, and that's where we get, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, and the whole reason why we get to this settlement is because we need to go make a trade, because we find out that Broke Jar Camp or whatever has a major water shortage, and so everyone's going to die. That on top of the war going on with the natives. It's all this stuff. And I was eating up every bit of it at this point. Like, I was just like, holy shit! Like, Fear the Walking Dead is just like amazing. Like, they have story arcs, they have all these things going on, they have interesting characters, they are doing more than walking around in the woods. I'm just like, whoa, Fear the Walking Dead is the best show that no one is watching at this point. And I was seriously advocating, I'm screaming from the mountaintops, everyone go back to Fear, because it has very interesting things going on, inner conflicts, even with our main character, an unlikely main character, right? Like you said, I was with you. I thought Travis was the main character, and it turned out to be Madison, who, whatever, but she has complexity, and Alicia starts having complexity. She's taking on this kind of Maggie role, but with Jake. We have the complexity going on with, Walker's not just completely evil. He has reasons and understandable reasons to be pissed off and want his land back, and it's all about safety. There was all these things going on in Fear that I just felt like were a lot richer than things going on in Walking Dead. Now, it didn't last. He kind of took a shit at the end, but until then, we did get some still amazing episodes. Were you as like? I just going through your thought process because you just watched these episodes. Were you just like, oh shit, this is kind of good, or am I just kind of overblowing it?
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, season 3, got me hooked. And it's definitely and it's, I don't know, I guess Fear the Walking Dead was similar to The Walking Dead in that way, because season 2 of The Walking Dead sucked, and Fear the Walking Dead season 2 kind of sucked. I mean, I think actually I would say Fear the Walking Dead season 2 was a little better than Walking Dead proper season 2, and then season 3, both Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead is when it just kind of really gets good, really kind of just the storylines pick up. You're starting to get to know these characters more. The character development is really starting to set in. You're starting to learn more backstories about some of these people, like Madison, with obviously the issue with her growing up, and all that. So I guess we're starting to get to know these characters a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just, it turned into things that I cared about, things that I was looking forward to tuning into the next week, right? So we had the MacGuffin with the water, so they had to go find water, which was cool. And while that was happening, all the stuff with Daniel and the dam, which I really liked the dam setup, at least in the beginning. And he just destroys freaking Dante. He just shoots him in the face, which is just great. And I like that Dante figures out that he's dealing with this badass. And right away he employs him. And he's just like, yeah, you're going to be my executioner. And that didn't really turn out for old Dante.
Yeah, not very well.
Yeah, and so, Daniel, he has that complexity where he is stone cold killer, but he had these other people that kind of saved him. Ephrion was one of them, and I forget the woman's name, but he kind of brings them up with the dam, and there's all that going on, and that's where we get the integration of the two, right? That's where we get Madison meeting back up with Daniel, all this stuff going on. Sideshow Bob or Two-Toting Joe, whatever the hell his name was. I wasn't super impressed with him as a villain as a whole. He was just he felt very villain of the week to me. And I don't even think we got to even meet him until like the last episode or second to last episode anyways. I thought, all the other villains or just the ambiguous, characters, and I'm like, cool, that's what this show is. Strand is a good bad guy. Madison is a good bad guy. Walker is a good bad guy. Jeremiah is definitely an asshole, but he has intentions in there that are justifiable sometimes. Troy, same thing. He's completely batshit crazy, but hey, that's what the doctor ordered in this kind of environment. So when they got to Sideshow Bob, he was just kind of mustache twirling villain of the week. I'm like, oh man, we were on a roll, and now you're giving me this douche.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was Proctor Joe or Proctor John or what, something like that. Proctor something with a J.
Yeah.
Those
Proctologist Jill?
Something like that. Yes, exactly. Those J names, they're all the same.
Don't ever trust a motherfucker with a J name.
Yes, don't ever do that. But yeah, I agree. And then just like when we first even get introduced to him with Alicia, and how he's forcing surgery to get some tumor out of his back, and he said, oh, you have to do this surgery, and if it you're not successful, my guys are going to shoot you and kill you. It's like, that really doesn't make anybody really want to save you, dude.
No, not at all. It was just so like dull, right? It's just like, I'm bad and people follow me and you better do what I say or you're dead.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I wouldn't follow a leader like that. And I really think the only time leaders like that get followed is when they have to, when there's like organized, society where there's titles and there's, actual authority given, given authority, not where people follow you because they want to. People are going to follow somebody that is worth following, and a guy that's like threatening people's lives and stuff like that is, I don't know, to me, not really worth following.
And why, may I ask, were people following him? He's not imposing like Negan, where Negan is a physically imposing, threat. He is charismatic. This guy was dull as the bottom of my shoe, and he was like half dead. Like, who cares? Like, push him over. Like, steal his lunch money. Like, why were people following this dude?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why, but that whole thing was just weird, and the whole end of season 3 just seemed, I don't know, very kind of fillerish, and then just random, and I don't know. I mean, it kept me watching, but I was kind of struggling as to just, I don't know, even random things like Alicia, leaving and stuff like that, and I couldn't. It just didn't all add up.
No, it climaxed for me, and then it went immediately downhill. But I mean, it climaxed hard. Like, it was my favorite episode of Fear the Walking Dead, and probably in my top 5, maybe even 3 episodes of both shows combined, was the show when they start, or okay, so we're jumping ahead, but Troy out, and Troy gets exiled, right? Because everyone finds out that he killed the founder's family. Blah 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 blah. We're sorry that we're rushing, but we're running a little long. But he goes out and finds this glorious herd, because every Fear or Walking Dead show has to end in a zombie herd. Fine. He does it in a cool and interesting way. He kind of shoots flares, and he's herding the herd. He's a shepherd of the herd. That was just delicious. It was absolutely delicious. I loved it. It culminates in the struggle. Cain and Abel, like I said, winds up cutting off Jake's arm. Jake winds up bleeding out. Very unfortunate, but a cool death. And he sends the herd on his own home. After Nick, man, there's so much that we're just like blowing through at this point, but we kind of got to kind of move on. Madison winds up confronting Jeremiah, and because she meets with Walker, and she basically says, "Hey, what's going to stop this?" And it's going to be blood for blood, and Jeremiah needs to die. So Madison goes in there after revealing that she killed her own husband or father.
Not sure.
Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here with the chat and the show. So yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, she kills someone. I think it's her father. I'm pretty sure she killed her own father, and that's what she tells her kid. So being a good son, winds up going to Jeremiah's house and killing him, right?
Yeah, I'm remembering it now. No, it was her father. Her father was an alcoholic and was abusive to her mother, and she confesses how, and she says when she's confessing the story, she's saying it in third person. There was this little girl, and there was this and that, and she confesses that she took her father's life, and says that she would do it over and over again if she had to.
So she was going to go with every intention to get. I think she was going to try to get Jeremiah to kill himself, but that doesn't wind up happening. Nick comes in. He winds up shooting Jeremiah right in the face. Then all this stuff ensues. The natives come, and Ophelia winds up killing the militia on the Broken Jar side because of anthrax.
Yeah, yeah, and that part was a little weird too. But you know, they were some creative folks and came up with some anthrax. He said what he got it from cowhide, which I don't know how anthrax is made, but that could be how. I don't know.
And this was the point of the season where it was just like, okay, we got to end it. We ran out of interesting ideas, so we just got to end it like fast and anthrax. It's got to be anthrax, right? You can't get a fucking burger in the zombie apocalypse, but you get anthrax.
Right. I don't know. I thought that was a little random too, but I mean, it definitely pissed me off at Ophelia. But that was before we really knew what happened between Ophelia and Otto as well, which we kind of had talked about a little bit, about what did happen to them, and it shows us later on, through the through that season, through the third season, it shows us how they did meet before. And there was kind of mentions where Otto's like, hey, let's leave the past behind us and stuff like that. And I was kind of confused, like, how would they have a past? And it shows where Otto comes across her crossing the border back into the States. And, I mean, he gives her some water, which is, I guess, just like, we've talked about the good, bad guy thing. But then, basically tells her, I'm going to leave you here because you're Mexican.
Right. Pretty messed up.
Yeah, which is pretty jacked up, especially, I mean, come on. We're in the zombie apocalypse. We all have our prejudices and we all have our preconceived notions that we have on people. But once again, at this point in time, it's the living versus the not living. There's no way you can see color at that time,
Yeah, it's like, is your flesh decaying or not? Like, in the words of Sweet Brown, ain't nobody got time for
that. Ain't no one got time for that.
Oh man, yeah, 2002 called. They want my joke back. But yeah. So all this is happening. It's all culminating. There's that mini war with the anthrax, and Madison just beats the living shit out of Ophelia. Wonderful. But then Nick, it's so funny, and I really liked how they did this. Nick was like the one survivor of the anthrax attack because he was a junkie and his body had immunization built up because he was such a fuck up. I love that.
Yeah, that was great. Because it's just like, how did he? Then you kind of his body's a little used to being poisoned.
Yeah, and it's clever story writing, and it's very I love that part. Going back, we started talking about the herd and Troy kind of leading the herd to broke jar camp or whatever. Jake dies. They make it right. They build up this little barrier of RV. It holds for a minute. Well, it doesn't hold for very long. This episode, the episode where the herd comes through and they have to go downstairs into the bunker, and you see it's pretty much the rest of the survivors. It is the women and children and the old and the people that couldn't fight on the front line that are down in this bunker. This episode, this is what I was talking about before. This is in my top 3 episodes. This might be one of my favorite zombie-ish things ever. It was so well done, so well shot. Alicia went through so much shit. And it's like I said, it's not a bunch of army guys dying and getting bitten one by one. It's like, no, it's the women, the children, and the elderly. And Alicia is completely in charge of everyone's life at this point. And death. And it's just like, just the fact that they all had to like get up and out themselves. And she has probably the biggest death count of anyone else on the show. And I'm not talking about zombies, like actual killing of people. She became, judge, jury, and executioner. Even the guy that was helping her out, I felt for him. Like, that was a huge loss. He was like the last one. He's like, yeah, it's my time. It's just that episode. Oh my God. I love that episode. I will always love that episode. It's the only episode of Fear the Walking Dead that I've watched like 3 or 4 times. Just because there's so many little things. What did you think?
Oh, I'm absolutely 100% with you. That show and Alicia's acting role, who's the actress who plays Alicia is also named Alicia. But oh man, and just I've stated that I like how we get some real life type situations and real life type actions, and how when actors and how they can just pull emotions out of you. And oh man, that whole episode, I'm just watching it just with like, what is going to happen next? Like, where are they going? And just to see Alicia just struggle through this and just show so much strength and leading this whole group of some people probably 3 times her age. Because she's just 18 on the show, and there's white-haired, white-bearded guys on there, and she's just commanding lead of this entire group of people that has more wisdom in years than she could even imagine having, but yet she shows more strength, more wisdom, and just pulls through it. But you just see her struggling, and you could just feel that through the whole thing. That was great. What I didn't like was at the end, how literally not at the end, but at the end when she fought, the doors finally get open, air gets left in. But just briefly before that, every single 100% of the people in that, cellar or whatever it is with her die except for her. How is she the only person that was able to make it through that and be strong enough to fight and kill the other, people who have already turned into the undead at that time?
I agree with you. I agree with you that it was very, show armor, plot armor. We talked about this. Very convenient that she was alive. But, you got to maybe, because I think at that point, when she kills the lady that she was talking to and really befriended her and her kind of coach through all this horrible things she had to do, I think when she killed her, she kind of fell on top of her. And so while that was going on, the people that were dying were just getting reanimated and started eating each other. So I don't know. I'll give the show a little bit of a pass. Although I agree with you. Yeah, maybe some of the stronger, maybe younger people could have survived a little bit more, but maybe they got eaten, from their family, turning. It was just a terrifying, claustrophobic experience. Like that episode was an experience. It was terrifying. I was like, oh shit, like this is scary. Like this is just the claustrophobic feeling and the sense of suffocation in itself was scary enough. Now add zombies to the mix. It was just like whoever wrote that and directed that episode was fucking genius, and I loved the hell out of it. And that was the episode, like the one with Carl, where we didn't see it really happen. That's where Ophelia basically, gets her death sentence. Ophelia gets bitten, which later on, we find out in the next episode. But, like you said before, that's when Alicia decides to leave. That's where the rest of the season has had so much steam and had so much going for it. And I was just so into started falling off. Although I did love the scene of Ophelia, like, being sick, and everyone's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then she just falls off the back of the truck. I was like, "Oh shit!" She just fucking pancaked off the truck. That scene was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I didn't expect that. I seen him, sitting on the back of the truck. Obviously, that's something that's very likely, but I didn't see it happening. And then all of a sudden, yeah, she just takes a tumble right off the back of the truck.
Yeah, they did a great job with the effects on that, because it seemed very real. And then the kind of the last thing that I liked from the season was when they did go back to the arena, and then you had the cool literal Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Nick and Troy. I loved everything with that. The drug scene was so much fun with the adrenaline gland. Nick finally out crazying Troy. We're in Nick's realm now, where Nick's back on the stuff, drinking, he's doing whatever drug he can find, and Troy's at this point just like, oh shit, this guy's nuts.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm sitting there screaming. When he looks at the pills that are right next to Ophelia, I'm screaming at the team like, don't fucking do it, Nick. Like, don't do it.
Yep.
Because the recovering addict Nick, and then he's now badass. I mean, he's one of the leaders, and I think somebody said it before, and I don't remember who it was. Earlier in the season, said something about talking about who's going to lead and who should lead and this and this and that, and then somebody said Nick, and then they said whoever they were talking to said he doesn't want to lead, and then that. The other person said, well, that's exactly why he should. And that's just, the kind of guy Nick is. And that's part of the reason why I love the guy. He's, I would say, my favorite character of Fear the Walking Dead.
That's left, right?
That's
100%.
I like Jake. I was really, really liking Jake. And then, I was hoping the arm, removal would work, but obviously they weren't able to get him proper medical attention to stop the bleeding and keep him from dying. But
I still like Strand quite a bit, but Strand has just become basically a coward, where he's just so he has become kind of the Eugene, where he was so not a Eugene at the beginning of the series. But I still like him. He's still very interesting. There's a lot of layers of Strand, but but who's left in the show? Because Jake's gone, Travis is gone, and now we could talk. They all get back to the dam, and Proctor John or whatever decides to go infiltrate because Alicia winds up getting captured. Alicia goes off, like you said, it was pretty stupid. She finds Michonne, not Michonne, except with a pickaxe instead of a katana.
Michonne's cousin, I don't know.
Yeah, and we're not even being stupid that way. We're just being stupid because it's literally the same character except with a different weapon. Right. And I'm just like, guys, like, you have nothing else to do? Like, come on! Anyways, I digress. But so that thing, Strand sells everyone up the river, so to speak, and the casino people, the Proctor John people come, they infiltrate the dam. They kill everybody, right? They kill everyone. They kill Efrion, the lady that saves Daniel. Daniel's pissed off. Daniel and Strand have a cool fight, which freaking Daniel just can't. He's like a cockroach, man. He can't die.
Right? Gets shot in the face. Still, he's been burned to what should have been to death. He should have died from thirst and dehydration. And then he takes a shot to the face, and he's still kicking.
Yeah, he got shot Billy Russo style. When I saw that scene, spoilers for Punisher, but watch our show, motherfuckers. But when Billy Russo took that shot to the face, I'm like, oh shit, he got Daniel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was incredible. It wasn't incredible, but all that happens, the struggle, and then the bridge scene. Oh, and then that season finale, man, that season finale that just had so much potential, just fell flat, and it looked stupid. The CGI was terrible. They blew, Nick blows the dam, and he's still alive. And, everyone's okay. And then you get the really bizarre flashback dream sequence with Madison. What the hell was going through your mind having just watched that? What did you think about the weird-ass dream sequence with Madison?
Okay, yes. those just completely threw me for a strange loop. I mean, these random, really weird scenes where it's Christmas and she's in a nice, like, beautiful home, and then she looks out and it's in the middle of the desert, and there's random, like, tombstones of people that have died, and I just thought that was really, really random. But I guess it's kind of showing a Rick-like craziness, which, I mean, Rick's obviously not hallucinated like that, but the phone and the prison and those kind of things. And that's kind of what popped to my head, is just like, I guess that's what, making these kind of decisions, leadership style decisions that Madison and Rick have made during the show. I guess it just makes you go crazy. I don't know.
And fine, I get that, but it was just like, I don't know. It just seemed like the writing was too good to do something weird and stupid like that. And I could see where they're going for. She was underwater. She was literally dying at that time, and metaphorically, Travis is the one that pulls her up and gives her the will to live. But it just, I don't know. It was way too cute for my liking. Like, they just had too many. The show had too much going for it this season for them to end it on that. Like, just the scene with Olivia, or Ophelia. Now I don't remember. Ophelia falling off the back of the truck had better. It looked better than the dam breaking, and it's that horrible CGI. That looked like Sci-Fi Channel type, level shit. It was like Sharknado, and it was just bad. And I wasn't buying any of the tension with them on the bridge. It's like, oh, you leave. Oh, we're saying our goodbyes and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't buying any of that. I knew everyone that was still around, that was still alive, was going to survive. Obviously, Daniel just survived a bullet to the face, so they're not just going to kill him on the bridge. Nick is, I guess we could say Nick is Carl of this series.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Either, I don't know. See, I'm torn between Nick or Alicia, who's really the Carl, because I know obviously the dynamics are different, but Nick almost seems like a Daryl type to me, and Alicia kind of reminds me more of Carl.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, and it ended, and it was just like all this build up for a big juicy fart at the end, and that's what I was disappointed about. But with all that being said, Fear the Walking Dead season 3 for sure was my favorite overall season of the series. Even though it ended off in just kind of a meh, a dip down in quality, I'm still looking forward to the next season. Dare I say, even looking forward to it more. Well, I won't say more than The Walking Dead because I want to see what happens, of course. But I am amped for season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. I can't wait to see what they do with Morgan. And just hopefully they. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. They surprised me huge with this season. Oh, and real quick before we get your final thoughts, just the kind of afterthought of how they killed Troy. I was pretty upset.
Say what? I'm sorry.
I said just before we get your final thoughts on the season, we forgot to mention just the death of Troy, and I felt like it was such an afterthought.
Oh yeah, it came out of nowhere. And I mean, at this point, Troy has survived so much leading up to this point. I mean, a spoon in his eye, which was also pretty a badass act by Madison. And, being left out in the wilderness, taking a knife through the hand and several different times, all that he lived through, and then just all of a sudden just takes a hammer to the head. And that was one of the deaths that I said they kind of solidified, because they showed, back after the dam was crumbling, they showed his body get covered with water and taken away with water. And I think they did that to, kind of avoid, the Morales factor.
Yeah. It was super disappointing. He's such a rich character, and they had a really good actor to do it. It missed opportunity. I don't know, but look what they did with what they did with Travis. Even though I think overall I think the health of the show would have been better if they killed Madison and kept Travis alive. To be honest with you, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really like Travis, but at the same time, I mean, as much as I really question some of the things Madison does and the decisions she makes, and yeah, her the actress is kind of flat sometimes, but her evolution as a character, I'm really liking.
All right. So, what are your overall thoughts of season 3? Does this kind of beat out the other two? Kind of rank them.
Well, I mean, it definitely beats out season 1 and 2. It's definitely it's definitely the best season so far. And I mean, it's gonna have me coming back for season 4. In rank, I would have to say it falls in line with The Walking Dead for the first 3 seasons. Season 3 being number 1, season 1 being number 2, and then season 2 obviously being not as good.
Yeah. I hope it's. Oh man, I hope they kind of regain some of the magic, because seriously, some of these, not just scenes, but episodes were some of the best episodes in this Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead shared universe. Like that episode with Alicia was just pure beauty. Probably as close to a perfect. And of course, as irony goes, that was I stopped reviewing Fear the Walking Dead on this channel the episode before that, and then that one happened. I'm like, oh crap! But I would give that episode, the Alicia Zombie episode, with just the minor thing like you said, and I agree with, it was very convenient with her living. I would give that episode like a 4.8 out of 5.
Yeah, I would be right there, but obviously I can't go 4.8. I have to keep it in 0.25 increments. So I would have to say 4.75. I mean, it's close to perfect as you can probably get. Obviously, there was some little bit things that could have made it better, that could have maybe reached that perfection. But man, I'm glad that you said that same thing about that episode, because man, it was just brilliant.
Yeah, and if you just want to watch like a suspense thriller on its own, you're not even a fan of Fear the Walking Dead, which you probably are if you're going to be watching this review. Watch just that episode. That episode alone works as a standalone episode, as like a post-apocalyptic, tension-filled movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. Season 3 overall, I mean, I didn't think it was bad. It had some lows, it had some filler episodes, but we're going to get that in any season of any show. And we get it with The Walking Dead. Every season there's at least a couple, filler episodes. We got that with this, but overall, I mean, I was impressed, especially coming off of season 2, which was a little bit flat at times. I think season 3 was, I mean, it was pretty good. It was a storyline that we could follow, that we could believe in, because, like I said, it seems realistic that once the Native American tribe got their chance, now that the white man law was gone, hey, they had their chance to go in and right what they felt was how they were wrong. So, good series. Obviously, it's got its ups and downs. It's got its pros and cons compared to Walking Dead proper, but it's still not The Walking Dead, and it will never be The Walking Dead.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that is a full series review of all 3 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. Now I'm going to go back or we're both going to go back, and I'm going to talk about my special guest, Silver City Brewery. It was so good, it didn't make it to the end of the review. This is their Panther Lake Porter, 6%. It says per Porter Decadence. Ah, cute. A dark and robust ale with multi layers of roasted chocolatey goodness and rich caramel undertones. It did taste like a milk chocolate, like a little bit of caramel. I mean, very aptly name. I'm going to go big. I'm going 4.5 out of 5 for this beer, the Panther Lake Porter. Silver City, you guys are killing it out of Bremerton, Washington. Thank you again, Christian, for hooking me up with this one, and, you know, almost a perfect beer. Good job, guys. How about you?
All right. Well, my special guest was Hangar 24's Orange Wheat. It tasted a lot like what you would expect, I guess, orange wheat, except just very, very light, very crisp, very light. Not a bad beer. I would say it's definitely more of a warm weather type beer. You know, low ABV at 4.6, something that could be maybe, you know, a lunch beer, something like that. You know, nothing really to write home about, but I would say 3.5.
Okay, that's still nothing to that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not mad. I tried it, and I don't know if I'd ever pursue it again, but if I found it and the situation was right, I'd probably order it again.
All right. Well, that's our show this week, guys and gals. I want to kind of tell you what's coming up for DGT Live. Tomorrow, you know, tonight is a special Monday night edition. So that's great. Happy New Year to all the deadheads and everyone else out there for joining us on your New Year's Day for the show, for the Fear the Walking Dead series review. Tomorrow, I have another show coming on. Unfortunately, this guy can't join me. But I do have Zuby from Magic with Zuby. Zubatron is going to be joining me talking Star Wars The Last Jedi. I know, Star Wars on Dead Guys Talking Live. Oh my God! But it's happening. We're talking Star Wars tomorrow night. Same time that we usually film, about 6:30. Me and Zuby, possibly another guest, but there is... We're trying to make someone else happen, but there's some logistical problems. So even if it's just me and you talking Star Wars, please come and tune in. Next week, we have, you know, Tyler comes back. His beautiful face and body graces us again with his presence. And we are talking, we're going deep. We're going back in the day. We're going Reanimator. Talk about one of the, you know, founding, I guess, zombie movies. If you've ever seen Reanimator, calling it a zombie movie, calling it a movie is a stretch, but it's entertaining as hell. We not only have myself, who has seen the movie, Tyler, who has not seen the movie, but I have my buddy from South Central, but it's Connecticut, not LA, so he doesn't live that hard. Aaron from Turn One Thoughtseize, who is a gigantic fan of Reanimator, will be joining us next Tuesday night. That's me, Dead Guy Ty, and Aaron from Turn One Thoughtseize. Be sure to tune in. Thank you, Psychopath, for all the comments and interaction in the chat. And thank you guys all for watching. I almost said I'm Dead Guy Ty, but I'm not. I would be lying. I'm John. You can find me on Twitter at WarsUpDone. You can find me on Facebook at John Dunning, or They Said We Said Facebook group and Instagram. Tyler, where can the good people find you?
Well, yeah, I just want to repeat, you know, thank you to Psycho Cat for tuning in and watching all the way from Ireland. Thank you for being active in the comments. He's obviously a big Walking Dead fan, big Fear the Walking Dead fan. He's a fan also of our brothers across the sea, The Walking Bread. He's done some voice work for him. So he's also has a show that he does, which is The Dead Among Us. We'll have to check it out. It's a zombie show there that he does in Ireland. So we'll have to check that out. And yeah, I'm Dead Guy Ty. You can find me here on They Said We Said YouTube channel. You can find me on the Brewpedia. You can find me on Untapped, Tyler Pereza. And that's about it.
How excited are you for Reanimator?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should be excited or something else, but find out next week.
Something else is perfect. Yeah, so oh man, I'm so looking forward to what's coming up, the shows that are coming up. on this station. Like I didn't say the station. Yeah, they said we should. So keep tuning in. The DGT Live for Tyler. I'm John. Spread that damn disease.
Spread it.